Here's a question that asks us to garner some information from a graph that doesn't have a clear single equation. And so what we need to do is look for certain points on the graph to get our information. So part A, it asks us to use the graph to estimate the speed after 5 seconds. So here's my 5-second mark. What I'll do is I'll draw a line that goes straight up from there and see where it hits the graph. So if I do this, there's my vertical line. And if I can get that right, that'd be great. But there's my vertical line, and that hits at about 110 or 115 kilometers an hour, something like that. So what I'll do is I'll say, well, this point here, it looks like the speed is about 110 kilometers an hour. So my answer for this question would be 110 kilometers per hour. Now, it's worth keeping in mind that the examiners will understand that you may have an answer that's slightly different. Your line might go through here or here. And so quite often their marking scheme will allow you to have an answer that's within a range of maybe 10 kilometers an hour or something like that. The second part of the question asks us to interpret how much time it takes for a value here. So here we have part 1, 150 kilometers an hour. There's 150 kilometers an hour. My point hits about here. So if I draw my line down to my x-axis, that looks like it'd be great if I could get perfectly horizontal or vertical lines. That looks like it would be about 8 seconds there on that axis. So I'm going to write here 8 seconds. And the next one, 250 kilometers an hour. Let's do that in light purple. If I went to 250 kilometers an hour, I'm coming across at about this level. And that will cross somewhere around about here. So let's go down, and as I read as it goes down, that's somewhere around about 23 seconds. So my answer would be 23 seconds. And that's how I would answer those questions. Remembering that the examiners would expect that the range will be reasonable and not huge, but it would be understandable if you read that as 22.5 seconds, for example. So the examiners will allow for that in the answering of that sort of question. The final part, which isn't actually asked here, but it may be something you do need to answer, would be what is the average acceleration, or what is the average gradient over that period of time? And this is how we do it. We start here, so let's make it a part C. The average rate of increase. And that is always going to be rise over run. And if I was going to follow that with a red triangle, I'd start at the origin, and it would go like that. So it'd be the gradient of that line. Now to get there, my rise is going to be 250 kilometers an hour. My run is 23 seconds. So therefore, I would get an acceleration of, let's get out the calculator, 250 divided by 23 gives 10.9 kilometers per hour every second. So my answer is 10.9 kilometers per hour per second. And that is my average acceleration. If you're worried about this unit, just consider that my speed is in kilometers per hour. My time is in per second. So kilometers per hour per second, that's where it comes from. Normally you won't have a complex unit like this, but that's how you can work out an average rate of change.